I basically made myself available to my clients, to everybody, 7 days a week, morning to night. I'd email on weekends, I'd be working on weekends. And in all honesty, I have gone through patches in my business where I've stopped enjoying photography, where it just becomes stressful. I go through periods, like months of anxiety. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Amanda. For those who don't know me, I'm a brand photographer based in Brisbane, and essentially I help other brand photographers build a successful business of their own. So if you're new, hello. Don't forget to subscribe and go follow me on Instagram if you want to see more behind the scenes content of my photo shoots. But let's dive into the video. I'm talking about the 8 mistakes that I have made as a photographer. Well, these are like my top 8. There are plenty more, but 8 mistakes I've made, and hopefully you can learn from these, learn from my experiences, my stories. Let's get stuck into number 1. So the first mistake I've made is I used to get way too shutter happy. Sometimes I still do, but I'm trying to do better. Basically, when I'm out on a photo shoot or even in the studio, I would take like 5 to 10 photos of the exact same scene, the same pose, the same setup. And so when I got to editing, I'd be like, why do I have 10 photos of the same thing? It's not productive. It doesn't make your editing time any more efficient. It prolongs it, if anything. And it just doesn't make much sense. And sometimes I feel like, especially when you're working with models or you're doing a personal branding shoot, you're kind of like, as you're shooting, you're thinking about the next scene that you have to do. So you're like, I'm just gonna keep shooting until I know what I'm gonna do next, instead of stop shooting and actually think. So to solve that, I just try to be very, very conscious of the way that I shoot now. If I know that I've got the shot, I'll be like, you know what? I got the shot. If it took like 1 minute to get the shot, that's great. Let's move on to the next scene. And that way you actually get more out of your photo shoot. You might get more outfits, you'll get more diversity in your photos, and you're not gonna sit there for like an extra half an hour sifting through your photos, wondering which shot looked better out of the 10 that were exactly the same. So the second mistake that I've made as a photographer is I haven't stood up for myself and the value of my work when it was due. So a couple of years ago, I shot for a brand and I delivered the first batch of images and I'm like, yeah, great, they're lovely. Delivered a second batch, which was for a lifestyle shoot, and they came back in an email saying, sorry, but we can't use any of these. And that was pretty much it. It was actually a little bit rudely written, in my own opinion. So basically I cried my eyes out for like an hour because it hadn't really happened to me before, and I did feel like she was kind of personally attacking me in a sense, the way that she'd written it. And I'd actually met the brief. I had actually met the brief to a T. So I was like, are we looking at the same gallery here? Because I actually don't know. And basically I said at the end of the day, you know what? I can't work with you anymore because I delivered what you asked. And I feel like past Amanda would have said, oh my God, like, let me do a reshoot for you, or, you know, here's a refund. And it was like a $500 job as well. Like, I could have used that money. But I feel like as photographers, we can very easily undervalue ourselves. I feel like I do it every single month. Even 3 years into my career, there are still jobs that I underquote because I'm like, oh, I'm just not sure, can I pull it off? Or I know you just pull towards like devaluing your work and giving them a discount. And I feel like I have come so far in terms of being like, no, this is my price. This is what I charge. If you can't afford it, I'm not the right fit for you, or please come back when you do have the budget. So stand your ground. Do not let people push you over. If you are 100% confident and happy with your work, stand by your work. All right, so the third mistake that I've made as a photographer is not making time to step outside of my creative comfort zone and explore new concepts. I feel like when we have so much one-on-one work, we might be booked out and we get really bogged down with the one-on-one stuff and the guidelines that our clients give us that we don't branch out and try new things. And so months go by and kind of everything starts to become same. Like you start shooting the same kinds of scenes for like all your clients. And what this can also lead to is you feeling like you're in a creative rut. You might feel uninspired, like you're in a funk. And usually that happens when everything is like too same. So what I usually do in this situation is I give myself a couple of days off, like reboot the creative energy, and I might go prop shopping online. New props and backgrounds can really help to invigorate your work and bring more life to your work. And so I think it's really good to be able to add a freshness to your product photography every couple of months to explore new concepts. Otherwise, we get bored, our clients get bored, they might go to another photographer because they want a different perspective. So make sure that you identify when you are becoming bored with your work and when things are looking to like same, that's when you need to stop and be like, all right, what's a new concept I can try? What can I do to add some freshness into my photography? And taking a day or two off really, really helps. This is why I don't work weekends anymore, because it gives me 2 whole days to just stop, not pick up my camera, and just let like my creative brain rest for a little bit. Then when Monday comes around, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get back into the studio and I'm good to go. Okay, so the 4th mistake I've made as a photographer is not setting boundaries in my business. And I know a lot of people can probably relate to this as well, not just photographers. I was making myself available to my clients, to my community, 24/7. Monday to Sunday, morning to night, I was working every single day, to the point where I actually stopped enjoying photography. Even something that you love, if you do too much of it every single day, sometimes it can start to feel like work, like you just stop enjoying it. That happened to me last year. It happened to me at the beginning of this year. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't work myself so much and be available every single day, all day to people. And so what I introduced was a no work weekend policy. So that means I don't respond to client emails on weekends. I don't respond to client DMs on Instagram. I don't work on weekends unless like, you know, I have to, unless it's like a good payday. So if you're someone who feels like you're on all the time, that you're constantly getting back to emails and messages every single day, all day, that means you have not set boundaries, and it can take a while to actually train people as well to not expect an immediate reply from you. So one of the best things that you can do for yourself and your business is give yourself boundaries. You might have to tell people, I don't respond to emails or DMs between this hour and this hour or on this day. That's okay. It's okay to say no. It's okay to tell people that you're not available. Let's touch on mistake number 5 I've made as a photographer, and that is neglecting to invest in my business for the first 1.5 years of my career. Because let me tell you, when I did start investing, I made a shit ton more money. And this was mainly because I had a terrible money mindset. I was very much in a scarcity mindset as opposed to an abundance mindset. And I definitely want to touch on this money mindset topic more in future videos, because I think it really is a big key to growing a successful business, is getting a handle and mastering your money mindset. When I was growing up, I would hear things like, oh, we can't afford that, money doesn't grow on trees, like save every last penny that you make, you know, squirrel it away for a rainy day, and that's what I did. I was so scared to spend money on me and my business, and that's kind of how you grow a business. And so I realized if I was going to actually make more money than I was in my corporate job, I had to change my mindset. I had to do the work. So I did a lot of money mindset work for about 6 months. I removed a lot of blockages and I started investing in my business. So in my 2nd year of business, I probably spent over $25,000, but I was earning like $10,000 per month with my photography. And I realized, I was like, oh, so if I invest money in my business, I make more money. And that kind of became my mantra, like my affirmation. If I spend money, I make more money back. And I see so many people stunt their growth by refusing to invest in their business, even a couple $100s. And I know how that feels. I was so scared to invest $250 in a personal branding consultation that I got so much out of. But I did it, and it was the best feeling, and that's when everything changed for me. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, yeah, you know, let's spend $1,000 on some gear. I don't mind. Like, that doesn't seem expensive to me. I see it as I'm going to invest this money because I know I'm going to make it back. Which also leads me to the point that you also need to invest in your education as a photographer. whether it's money or time that you invest. You might want to buy an online course, become a brand photographer, shameless plug. You might want to watch a lot of YouTube videos, which is what I did when I started. And I spent so much time learning and analyzing how other people were shooting. And if you don't invest in your education, then your quality of work doesn't improve. If your quality of work doesn't improve, you can't book higher paying clients. If you can't book higher paying clients, then you're going to have a very low financial ceiling and you're not going to earn that much with your business. The higher the quality of your work, the higher the price that you can charge, and people will pay that, I promise. Mistake number 6 I've made as a photographer is not insuring my gear and ensuring safety on set. I'm gonna show you something that hurts my soul. At the beginning of this year, we were on location and we had a big studio light near a bathtub that was full of water. You could probably tell where this is going. The light fell into the bathtub of water. Firstly, if somebody was actually in that bath, I really don't want to think about the repercussions of that. Secondly, my gear was not insured, and that's my own fault. I have public liability insurance, but I hadn't insured that light yet. Thirdly, we were without a light for the rest of the location shoot, and that was very inconvenient. Fourthly, I was then without a light for a couple of days, which was also very inconvenient for the rest of my work. And basically the light was bumped by my partner who was shooting. He accidentally bumped it as he was moving back. The light is very top heavy, so the stand didn't really support it very well. And we should have really had sandbags on the stand. It was such a small space that we were working in, and it was just a terrible moment. So please ensure that you insure your gear, you have public liability insurance, and you ensure the safety of yourself, of others, and your equipment every single time that you're on set. Mistake number 7 that I've made as a photographer is thinking that there were rules when it came to lighting. So for example, when I started out doing flat lays, I was like, oh, shadows are bad. How do I get rid of these shadows? And I think that was because I had learned that from other people. But over time, I've learned to really embrace light and also not pigeonhole myself when it comes to lighting and learning new lighting techniques. And I know that studio lighting can be really intimidating to people who have only used natural light. I remember when I first got my studio light, I was like, how do I do this? Like, where do I put it? What do I do? How do I use it? And what can happen is those who use natural light, which by the way, is absolutely fine. I have nothing against natural light. I just get really shit natural light in my apartment. I would love to be able to use it more often, but I can't. So I have to rely on my studio lights. But studio lighting can give you so much more creativity and allow you to manipulate light even further as opposed to using natural light. And I know it can be scary stepping into the studio lighting world, but I think it's a really good thing for photographers to be able to know different lighting techniques. You might have to go out on a job that does require studio lighting, and if you've never had any experience with it or you feel intimidated by it, then you may not be able to book the job and you've lost money. In my personal opinion, I think every photographer should make the time to learn new lighting techniques, to use different kinds of light and experiment so that you know what is out there and what other possibilities there is for creative work. But if you embrace learning the technical side of lighting and how it interacts with products and your scene, it's going to make you a much better photographer and allow you to create higher quality imagery as well. Okay, and that leads me to my last mistake I've made as a photographer, and that is rushing through my work. So probably for the first year, I would really try to rush through my client work. I feel horrible saying that, but it's true. Like if I had to do, say, 10 photos, I'd be like, all right, I've got to do this in like an hour because I've got so much other stuff to do. I've got to do this, this, and this. I'm just gonna try and get it done as quickly as possible. Whereas now I'm like, 10 photos, let's try and do this in like 3 or 4 hours because that's how long it takes me now. And it's interesting to reflect on how long a shoot used to take me for say 10 photos, even 5 photos, compared to how long a shoot takes me now. And this was probably when I was using more natural light, so maybe I didn't have as much to play with. And so now if I have to do 5 photos, I'm probably gonna block out like 3 hours in order to do it, because it might take me that long. Sometimes it can take me 1 hour to get 1 photo. And I realized that when I was rushing through the work, A, I wasn't really like enjoying it, and B, I knew that I wasn't creating the highest quality work that I could have created. Whereas now I really take my time, I try and pay so much attention to detail, and I allow myself that creative space to just create and not worry about how many other shoots I have. And now I'm like, if it takes me an hour to get 1 shot, I'm like, that's okay, because I know it's gonna be a really epic shot. And that was a misconception that I had about product photography, was that, oh, it shouldn't take 1 hour to get 1 photo. Actually, yes, it should. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I would love to hear some of the mistakes that you've made as a photographer so far in your career, or maybe you can relate to any that I've mentioned in this video. But if you did like this video, please give it the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to see more behind the scenes content, go and follow me over on Instagram at Amanda Campianu. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.